Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It is great to see you. Happy Monday. What day is it? Who am I? Where am I? Happy Monday. I brought the kids back to school this morning after their break, and man, it is jarring to go back into a routine when you've been out of it for a little while. We've also seemed to not just have a change in routine, but there seems to be a change in season. Like I feel like this past weekend I was living on a different planet because it was so warm and yeah, beautiful. I mean, too hot. I was immediately complaining about the heat. I had to run to TJ Maxx and get something else to wear because I just have like jeans and long sleeve tops. Man, what changes the spring brings, right? Maybe for you too, where you are, but it was wacky and surreal. I'm a little bit out of it. But I'm very excited this morning because we're back together again. We're back in our normal routine. My book came, my Winifred Nicholson book. Now, Winifred Nicholson is a famous British painter, right? And so was her husband. And we'll talk about them as a power couple of the 20th century. But this book came, and I had it on pre-order for a while from Amazon. It took some time for it to come together, I guess. But in the end, it did. This is a British book that is printed by Paul Hulberton Publishing. And it's a very big book. It's a nice size. It is, just to give you an idea of pages, it's 112 pages and super nice format, right? Very, very fine book to hold and look at. And this just opened up such amazing inspiration for me going through this. We won't get to all of it today, and we won't look at all of it because it was actually written by a family member. Let me get the name right. Jovan Nicholson. So let me show you that here. And I put a link to this book in this video. And you might think, I don't need any more books. But wait till you see this book. This is really, really something. I was just completely blown away by it. I'm only partway through. I'm digesting. It came, I think, right before we went to my mom's for Easter. We went over on Saturday. And it is just such a comprehensive and inspiring account of not just Winifred's work, Winifred and Ben, right, the Nicholsons. It's not necessarily about painting at all. It's about rugs, but also the women who hooked Winifred's rugs for her. Like she did the designing, they would do the hooking. And other people who inspired her to start rug hooking. It's, I'm so torn because this is a British book, right? So this is like UK language. We switched to UK language. Rug hooking is not what they say. They say hooky, and hooky for rug hooking for us, and proggy or proddy for proddy, because they do still a ton of proddy work, pushing it through or pulling it up with the new spring tool. But those rag rug forms are still very popular in the UK, and doing other stuff is very popular too. But they, in the UK, historically and to date, they seem to maintain this the thrifty backbone, right? The historic angle, right, of the craft. Like let's cut up our socks and hook. They seem to maintain that more than we have as Americans here. If you're an American, you might be British or Canadian, but that tradition, the original intention, right, of repurposing stuff, somehow got lost in the U.S. in the 20th century. And maybe lost is the wrong word. Maybe you love, and I love too, buying wool that's nice from stores, and I am one of those stores. But the Brits have kind of stuck with that original intention, which was to recycle, repurpose, cut up your stuff and turn it into something pretty and new and in most cases utilitarian. So this book is a sort of tribute to Winifred Nicholson as an artist and a rug maker, rug designer, but also the British tradition. So there's a lot of conversation in this book about other hookers and designers in the UK in the 20th century who, sort of early middle 20th century, who participated in this tradition of hooky and proddy or proggy and made pieces that are truly rag rugs and super folky as a result. So sometimes we talk about, how can you make a rug that looks like it is an antique? Using these methods is going to do it faster and more effectively than anything, right? Cutting up old stuff with scissors or ripping it, hooking into burlap, right? That is the way the early rugs were made. If you try to recreate that with your beeline cutter set to a number 3 cut, and you are wondering why your piece isn't looking like an antique hooked mat, that's why, right? Those were not the materials they use. If you want to recreate something, right, when they do those recreation, those series, I used to love those series, like Something House, where they would do like a Victorian house or colonial house or whatever, and they would recreate living in that period. And the purpose was kind of silly because it was always, the purpose was always to make you go, oh my God, they can't go to the bathroom on the toilet in the house, and oh my God, they had to carry pots around to make soup, and that was kind of the intention, was to get people thinking about those things. But at the same time, you couldn't do one of those recreation TV series, for example, from your mid-century modern house, right? Like colonial, whatever. Like, oh, well, I have a fireplace and it's still a fireplace, so we'll cook like we're cooking on the fireplace. It's like everything, you're not using the same things, right? The recipe is completely wrong, so you're going to get a different result. And it's the same thing with making rugs. The British tradition remains to this day very much in the original style, which is using cut up stuff, scissor cut stuff, ripped stuff, and burlap. And it does give you a different look. And certainly during Winifred's era, right, a little earlier in the 20th century, her rugs had a certain look. And it's that je ne sais quoi. And it can only be had by doing it in that way, right? So, and yes, if you have a cutter that cuts a number 9, a number 10 or higher, you might get there, but don't be hooking it into monk's cloth or rugwort, because you will need physical therapy after that. So different materials, right? I want to say good morning first, Carol. I got a package in the mail that blew my mind. Thank you so much. It blew my mind. I was so excited. I got this beautiful package of yarn, and I'm using all of it. In fact, I think I'm using some of it in Dark Night, which is the last rose that I have to hook myself before my part of my own book is done. I'm not finished yet. Thank you so much. That was such an amazing surprise. I was so excited. Cheryl, great to see you. Good morning, and on beautiful Patriots Day. Oh my gosh, is it Marathon Monday? Is it Boston Marathon today? Okay. Good luck to all of those runners. I hope that it is a super happy event, right? That's exciting. Patriots Day. I remember when we were younger, Patriots Day was a thing. We don't say that anymore, do I mean, you hardly hear it anymore. The kids are off at school. It's crazy. It occurred to me that, and I didn't say this to them, but it occurred to me that most kids have this week off, not last week off. And with this week off, or was it the week before? The week before, the week after had an extra day off, like a holiday. And I thought, man, if they had a different vacation week, they would have had an extra day off. Like, that's not fair. They got one day less. Good thing they don't know it, because they would not have gotten out of bed this morning. It was hard enough to mobilize these kids after a 1-week vacation, April, great to see you. Good morning in Illinois. Super good to see you. Linda, great to see you in New Jersey. Catherine, you are there in Southern California. Your friend, she is celebrating her first birthday today. Congratulations. Happy birthday, sweetheart. That is too cute. Karen, good morning. It is cool and bright and sunny, Black Forest, Colorado. No trace of snow, right? That's over. You're done with that party. Thanks for helping me get out of bed and on your exercise bike. I'm going to do it right after you. I realized I had lost a little bit of weight, and this has nothing to do with Easter. This just has to do with me being lazy. As soon as I lost a little bit of weight, like 10 pounds, I started getting lazy again and hardly ever going for a W. I can't say it because the dog will hear me. I will go for a W right after the show. And I wasn't doing my exercises behind me in that open space with my videos. I just stopped because I thought, woohoo, I did it. So that's not good. I'm going to get back into that routine with you, Karen. I gotta do better. Sandy, great to see you. Good morning in Pennsylvania. Welcome back. Great to see you. And Karen, good to see you in Southington. I was just looking up Southington the other day. I was looking at like houses and things around that area. Very pretty. Great to see you. Doris, great to see you. Welcome back. Happy Monday. You found me. I knew you would. I knew once you were in the group and you were asking questions and participating, I knew you would find us, Carol. I thought you could use it. I can absolutely use it. I wish I brought it in. It's like Carol sent me these big skeins of like these really fancy yarns, like fancy ones. And you know, there's like they're beautiful. One of them like has glitter and is all blue, and others are really thick and twisty, and they're artsy. They're super artsy. Thank you so much. I was so excited. Yeah, that was a great thing. When I get a box and I don't know what it is, I think, "Ooh, what's this going to be?" And I think, "Oh, shoot, did I give the shout out for something that I forgot about?" But no, it was a gift. Thank you so much. I was super excited. And I tried to find you on email, but I realized I hadn't emailed with you before. And then I tried to see if you'd left comments in the YouTube video so I could comment back, thank you. But I didn't see any comments from you. I just have you live here. So I'm so glad that you logged on and I was able to say thank you. Because I do have envelopes and stuff, but I knew it wouldn't get there fast, you know, because I have to go to the post office for stamps. You know what I have to do in my life just to put my big girl pants on is to go to the post office and get some stamps, number one. And number two, go to the bank and change my bank account so that I have checks. Because I never thought I would need checks, but I often do need checks. And I don't have them. And my hassle-free account doesn't include checks, not that kind of account, which is a huge hassle. So I think I need to do those two things just so I can sit here and send letters and put them in the post office and the post box to go out and do all those grown-up things, right? It's time. It's time. Doris, good morning. Whitney, great to see you. Welcome back. Great to see you. Happy Monday. Marilyn, happy Monday. Rug hooking as I watch. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. You can be so inspired. I was absolutely blown away by this book, as I am by all of these British books that we discover. And this one being brand new is really exciting. Robin, thank you so much for telling me about this book, because if you hadn't sent me the link, I occasionally go online onto Amazon and onto the internet in general, right, and do like the shopping tab and search for new hooked rug books. Now, most of them come up on Amazon. And when I see something new is coming up, I do two things. I make sure it's legit, because I know I've seen my images on the covers of books I've never heard of, and I complain to Amazon. There's nothing to be done about it. Unless it says by me, it's not by me, right? People are just stealing images. So there's a lot of that out there, books like rug making books, and you get them and they're like stapled together, 10 pages thick, and it's impossible to return them. And yeah, be careful. This book was brought to my attention by Robin, and I was like, whoa, because I know this artist, right? I know of her. I never knew her, and I think she passed away maybe in the 80s or something. But I know of her, and I got very, very excited. So again, as I get into the book, the link to this book is, after I finish saying hello, is in today's show, right? The link to this book on Amazon. If you are in Canada or in the UK or in Australia, you get it from your local one, right? You don't do .com, you do .ca or whatever, your local Amazon. It will be there and it will ship. If you have Prime or whatever you have. I have Prime because I also listen to Audible all the time. All comes together in the same box with the toothpaste, the coffee that I just reordered, and all of those little things. So I know how people feel about Amazon, but I feel like it's no good if I have to go out and do 16 errands today with my car and using energy and whatever that way and time, right? They're all going to come at once. So you can order it locally. Don't pay the big shipping. It is on your Amazon too. Let's see. Kelly, great to see you in Gilbert, Arizona. My first package from you will be coming this week. Fantastic. I think I remember what was in. I do remember what was in there. Let me know how it goes and let me know if you need help. It's the punch needle stuff, right? It's the 2 punches and all the yarn. I put a ton of different weight yarn so you can experiment between the two, and it should be great. Let me know how it goes. And Shiny Cottages, you are logging on from the UK on a damp, rainy day. Scylla Cameron. Scylla is such a great British name, isn't it? Of course, I'm thinking of Scylla Black, the singer. But I love that name. I love it. Welcome. You are so super welcome. And this is a great day for you because I know you know this name, Winifred Nicholson. In the U.S., we don't necessarily know this artist, right? But if you're British and you go to museums in London and stuff, you're super aware of her and her husband Ben, but not necessarily internationally. So this is going to be a good name to bring up and research, and I bet a lot of people are going to go down the rabbit hole after this episode, also looking at her painting. Punch needle, sure thing. Sharon, great to see you. Good morning from Nelson, British Columbia. Good morning. I hope you're getting beautiful weather there as well. Things are looking up. Well, not so much this morning, but it will be 85 again before we know it, no doubt. Good morning, everybody. And I want to get right into our content here because we I'm not looking at, most of this book. We're looking at some of this book because I hope that you will enjoy it. And if you end up getting this book, I don't want it to be boring when it gets to you. I want you to go through it and go, oh my God, I didn't see that one, right? Because it's not only so important to support here, say the names of people like Winifred Nicholson, and this is Cumbrian rugs. Cumbria is like an area, like a county in the UK, and talk about different places and different makers and things like that. It's also important to literally support rug hooking. And somebody like this, a family member who has put this rug together, it's a huge academic project. There's a ton of scholarship in this book. This is worth supporting because our history is inside this book. This is UK history. That's the same history as us, right? It's all the same history. If you're holding a hook, it's the same history. So it's important to support all the new rug hooking books that come out because there's not a lot. So I don't want to show you every single page. Debbie, great to see you. I know the cover is crazy, isn't it? That's a larger piece that I'll show you in the book, but it's absolutely beautiful. And the back cover as well. So let's get started, right? Because we're never going to finish this today. And Friday, I'm going to look at this book again, right? I'm going to look at this book on Friday for a long episode. Next Friday, so not this coming Friday, but next Friday, I can't even calculate what day that will be, let me tell you, will be our next gallery night. Not this coming Friday. So this coming Friday, let me open up the calendar, is going to be April 25th. We're going to look at this book that night because we will never get to it today. The following will be May 2nd, and we'll be having gallery night on May 2nd. So be looking for my friend Shannon Carter. She helps us out so much. She will be giving a shout out on the Facebook group, which is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. If you're not on Facebook, you know that gallery night is coming up. So go ahead and send me your projects that you're working on or your thoughts. Sometimes people just write something in. Oh, I'd like to create something. I've got this idea in my head. Let's get started. Sometimes I just start drawing things that you can draw along with me. Whether you're working on a project, starting a project, have finished a project, found an old project, found something in a store, those are the kinds of things we want to talk about on gallery night. Anything to do with rugs. So make sure you send your stuff to me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. And if you need a reminder and you are on Facebook, you will see Shannon's post. I also want to remind you, if you are working on one of the roses for the Rose book, the cutoff is meant to be May 1st, right? I'm not, as far as from my projects, I'm not like a do or die. Try to get it to me by May 1st, please, because otherwise it holds up the book. And if you remember my last Halloween book, so many things came in late that I didn't have the book at the book party. That was a great feeling. Oh, it was almost as good as being pulled over by the cops outside the hotel because I was going over the speed limit because I didn't know it had changed. Anyway, all good times. I don't want to repeat any of those things. So try to send me your stuff for the Rose book by May 1st, and and definitely send your stuff in for Magpie Times, the summer issue on May 1st. And in about a week, we're going to start talking about the fall issue. And I want international stuff too. And I want stuff that's not rug hooking for all of the Magpie issues. Lots of rug hooking, lots of quilting, embroidery, needle arts, everything. Weaving, everything fiber arts and textile. So think about what you might submit, but those two deadlines are coming up on May 1st. Also, it's worth saying, I know a lot of you are Tigger members because you probably know I'm the president of Tigger this time. And for Tigger members, I'm giving a free workshop on May 1st, which is a Thursday at 3 p.m. Tigger members only, right? There's a lot of free stuff just going to Tigger members. On designing for spring. So it's a composition class. It'll be a lot of fun. I'll be there with you for a couple of hours. It'll be one of many classes that I do over the next 2.5 years while I am the president of Tigger. And the other girls are doing interviews, classes, free patterns. We're all doing stuff constantly. So here it begins. I'll be there for that too. Put those dates on the calendar just so you don't miss anything fun. If you are a Tigger member and you're not available that day, it's recorded, so you can watch it later, right? Same as these, but anyway, those are things that are coming up. Now, here we go. Here we go. Let's do it. Let's look at Winifred. And you saw the book cover because I had it in my hand a few times. As soon as I open up the cover, I'm seeing close-ups like this. This is the end paper when you turn the first page, and you can see it's a close-up of a rug that is on burlap, and you can see there's a little bit missing in the center. Maybe there's a little patch that needs repairing. These little close-up, probably a chair leg or a table leg was on that spot, right? That's just what it looks like. But we're getting in this book, this is such a high quality book. It is a matte book as opposed to glossy, right? The pages are really thick. The cover is matte, just so you know what it feels like. The pages are matte. It is full color. There's lots of photography in here, very, very thick pages. There's lots of photography. It's highly illustrated, right? Highly. Like so much. It's a very nice finish. It has a very gallery finish to it, and it's got kind of a square format. Absolutely beautiful. And it just came out June 2025. So it's actually, it says April 5th to June 2025. So it literally just came out. And I guess in other countries, maybe it's coming out between now and June. So if you have like a back thing on it, it's maybe because it's not out in your country yet, but it's definitely out in the UK, the US, and I would assume that it's out in Canada. So this book starts out with a beautiful preface that I think is it appears to be by Rachel Matthews, who wrote a book last year in 2024 that we have not looked at yet, and I do have it. It's called The Rag Rug, I think it's called The Rag Rug Manifesto. And it is about the tradition of British rag rug making, so proggy and hooky. And it's a beautiful book. We should look at that one too, and we will look at that one. But this is what I'm looking at when I'm in the preface. It's a crop of a larger piece. And I'm not going to read everything to you, but the preface talks about, let me just read part of it. So this is, again, preface and by Rachel Matthews, and it says, whatever culture or motherland you come from, Jovan Nicholson is leading us on a path home through hooky rag rugging. So they're not saying hooking, right, at all. They're saying hooky rag rugging. I like that very much. I wish we could instantly switch so people really understood what we're doing. Although I don't know if that helps any more than rug hooking, does it? People thinking you're making huge rugs. The language is hard on this craft for sure. I wish we could just call it hooky. But that sounds weird, doesn't it? It sounds like something else. Over a century ago, Winifred Nicholson and her contemporaries became interested in the rebellion of using rag as if it were paint. I think that's a really important sentence because when I think about the American history and the evolution of rug hooking, I don't think of it as a rebellion. And in the UK language, that is the way it's being put. And that's an interesting angle. It really is, because it's a reaction against commercialism, isn't it? It's a return to things that are homemade and placing value on things that are homemade, as if it were paint. Soon, family, friends, and neighbors were hooked into bringing art back into everyday life. These works are gathered to receive you here and now, offering a metaphorical armchair to settle into, while they ask you to think about the homemaker and artist in you. What's your current vibe? What have you cherished? Oh, sorry. How have you cherished your clothes? You got any odd socks to cut up? The white kitchen armchair from 1937 on page 41 is the imaginary sit spot from where I write this. This is very lyrical, this text. From where I can see that Winifred's scene is still way ahead of the present time. These rag rugs signal important artistic lessons for late capitalist society. Knowledge of nature and creative potential in people are championed here. I've arrived at this chair from a place where loneliness, hypnotic addiction to algorithms, an abundance of waste material with devastating repercussions on our planet, and a general disconnection from plants and animals are sadly the norm. Sitting peacefully here, the answers feel uncomplicated. Through each carefully repurposed thread in the rug at this hearth, authentic lives are visible and our future heritage preserved. There's a lot more to the preface, but I'm going to hold on that. Let me just look at page 41 really quick to see okay, this is in the slideshow too. So this is the white armchair that she's imagining sitting in. And I'll give you context for that a little bit later, because we will see that slide a little bit later. I didn't read the whole preface, but I think you get the sentiment. Really beautiful and bringing us back to that place of doing utilitarian work and finding ways to be creative and to be expressive with our hands, right? Making something from scratch. And I like the idea, the conversation about being disconnected from people and animals. And it's true. It's super true. That's why I have loved being back at church and being in a community where I can see people's faces every week, because I love being here and I love doing all of the things that I do on the computer, and I love creating patterns and working on book projects. But man, it's also great to see people's faces and to be connected to other people, right? How are you? How was your week, right? All of this stuff that is falling by the wayside really quickly. So, the author gives a little bit of a history on the life and work of Winifred Nicholson. And her life is between 1893 and 1981. Um, and Jovan, I hope I'm saying that right. I hope I'm saying that right. It might be Jovan. I'll say Jovan. Let's stick with that for the moment. Jovan writes, our protagonist in this story of Cumbrian Ragrogs was a many-faceted artist whose painting career lasted over 60 years. She first exhibited with the Royal Academy in London in the summer of 1914 and held regular solo exhibitions in London galleries throughout her career, the last of which opened a few weeks after she died in 1981. At the very end of her life, on the Hebridean island of Ig, I might not be saying that right, she painted, and I'm going to show you this image, the gate to the Blue Isles. Let me show that to you while we look at this. So remember, she is first and foremost a painter. This is the gate to the Blue Isles, sometimes known as the Blue Gate, which, with its very simple imagery and understated spirituality, is one of her most loved paintings. So I'm not going to read her whole biography, but I do want to walk you through. Oh, the Tigger class, Rita, is, hold on one second, I think it's 3 to 5. Let me just check. Yep, 3 to 5, the Tigger class, the Tigger workshop on May 1st. I did May 1st, so it was easy to remember, and I keep forgetting. May 1st, Thursday, May 1st, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so East Coast time. I want to walk you through some of Winifred's paintings, right? Because we will be talking about rugs, and this book is on rugs, but I feel like it's important knowing she had such a long career as an artist. It's important to know what her work looked like before we start talking about rugs. Oh, Rebecca, you logged on too. Your videos are always eagerly awaited. Thank you so much. Very little available there in the UK. So many thanks for your videos. Nice to see a British maker. Absolutely. Rebecca, I'm always looking for British makers. If in your travels you see stuff at like local museums or whatever, or you become aware of groups who are meeting, I know of a bunch of small groups in different places. But I have a lot of contact people in the UK too. If you're ever looking to connect with other buddies, there's a lot of people there, but I know not as much as the US and Canada for sure. But I think people are there. It's just a different kind of organized differently. We're so kind of like, I'm going to say it, uptight in the US. We're very like chapter oriented, and I'm very chapter oriented too. I belong to like many chapters of ATHA, and I'm thinking of becoming more formally associated. But of course, I am also the president of TIGGER, which is another guild, and that is the International Rug Making Guild. So, but yeah, always let me know if there's stuff going on in other places, even if it's just like one rug in a house. If it's like a Prati rug, like down on the floor or something, I would still love to see a photo of that place from the inside and the outside. And yeah, thank you for being there. I'm interested in things happening everywhere. We all are. And you know, when we get UK books like this one, it's super exciting, but they are few and far between. And it is like when I saw this book, it kept getting delayed. Like the delivery kept getting delayed, and I started to get nervous. Like I was almost panicking that it wasn't going to come out, because I thought, man, there's not that many. And I think we've covered all of the books so far, with the exception of Rachel's, right, manifesto book. And we'll maybe look at that next week. But we've covered all of the British Rag books that I know of that are possible to get. And some of them were at great expense because they were like printed at museums and they were only available in the UK and all that stuff. But I started panicking because I thought, is there a problem with this title? Thank God it came out. And now that it's in my hand, I feel like I want to like hide it somewhere, but like someone's going to take it away from me because it's got so much information in it about British rag making that is like new photographs that no one's seen before. It's a big deal. So man, was I relieved when I saw that it had shipped. I was like, panic over. Okay, let me catch up on these here. Shiny Cottages, I'm hoping to see the exhibition in May. Fantastic. Oh God, please document that. Please document that. That would be amazing. What time for the Tigger class? Good morning, Catherine. Great to see you. This book is a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. Let's look at some of the stuff at the beginning of it. So Bluegate really strikes me, and this is one of her most beloved paintings. Again, at the end of her life, hints of spirituality and walking beyond this painted gate into God knows what. Hoping for the best, right? Always hoping for the best. But it's just such a beautiful, evocative painting that's open for interpretation. But I have to say, it's not typical of her work, right? It's not exactly typical. It's a piece of a story. And she does a lot of this because she mostly does still lifes in her career. She mostly does still lifes of flowers. That's really what she's known for herself as a painter. But this weirdly has a lot in common with a still life, because when you look at a still life, you're looking at something that is chosen and often contrived. Like, I'm going to do a still life. Here's my chocolate chapstick, and here's my hook, and my pair of glasses, and whatever. I've got a vacuum over there. Some whatever little statues. I create a still life, and I draw it. Maybe I hook it, and it's contrived. It's like the theater or the dollhouse of these little objects that I want to put into context with each other. It becomes a still life. Still lifes are I think I'm very attracted to still lifes. I really, more than landscapes or portraits, I love a good still life because it forces you to look at these little bits and bobs that belong to someone else. And I'm always interested in other people's stuff. So she is known as the painter of florals, right? Still lifes of florals. But the thing about that blue gate is it has the same idea behind it. It's like a staged choice. Whether or not the gate exists, I don't know. Probably in some form it does. Whether it's painted blue, I don't know. But the thing about that gate, and I'll show you the picture again, it's like detached. Like it's kind of standing alone. It's not like it's part of a long fence. It's like detached. And that in itself strikes me as more of a still life. Like here it is. It's not attached to the things outside of the composition, right? It's like we're looking at the gate. That is the main motif. And it's open, right? It's not secure. It's inviting, but it's the piece of something else. There's a lot of mystery surrounding this composition because is the rest of the fence like gone? Is the gate a little bit open? It does have a folky feel to it. It is like, directing us through the gate and into beyond. Absolutely beautiful. And again, evocative, but very different than everything else she painted. For example, polyanthus and I don't know this word, Cineraria, 1923, in oil painted on board. So this is one of her still lifes. Incredibly, to me, it looks like a watercolor. It's not. It's a closer inspection. Look at those brush strokes. It's an oil. And she does a lot of this kind of thing. Here's another one. I got some of these from the internet. I don't think I have the title for this one. I'm sorry. I didn't realize it wasn't. I thought I had it in the book, but I don't. Might be later in the book, but this is just sort of indicative of what Winifred painted. Still lifes with flowers. She really enjoyed the flowers. Now, people can make any amount of jokes that they want about the weather in the UK, but I lived in the UK for years and years and years when I went to undergrad, and then I worked in the theater, and I've traveled extensively in the UK, even as a young woman before I went to college. I took a year off and spent most of it there before I even did the undergrad thing. And yeah, it sometimes rains, but I'll tell you what, I'm not cracking on the Netherlands because I was born there too. It doesn't rain anywhere near as much as it does in the Netherlands, but I think maybe the weather, right? Because it is a thing. Marilyn, great to see you. It does rain more than it does in other places, right? Not as much as the Netherlands, but I always feel that the weather in England is great. I think it makes everything green. I love views that are green. That is my definition of beauty, green views. But I guess there is a place for a lot of indoor still life paintings that revolve around flowers that were picked, right? Whatever your weather is, if you put stuff in a vessel, you're still able to keep going with your paintings no matter what kind of weather is happening. And that might be one of the reasons that we get so many still lifes of flowers instead of actual, flowers growing in the garden. We get some of that too. This one is called Flowers by Moonlight, 1950. And I have a particular love for this one because the vessel is beautiful. The arrangement is so wild, right? It's like, I picked these, here they are, right? I just love the lack of fussiness in the way that this bouquet is arranged. And I love that it's sitting in the windowsill and the moon is out. Like, it's such a happy piece to me. And this is what she does, I think, better than anyone, really, these still lifes. And, if you go down the rabbit hole later, you will find dozens and dozens of Winifred Nicholson still lifes that are like this, where you get flowers that have been picked in different kinds of vessels in front of a window. And then you get the still life of the objects, but you also get the view out the window, which is, for me, 2 stories. It's 3 stories, too, because I'm interested in the vessels and in the different shapes that they are. And it is worth noting when you look at the style of her work, was she a Cubist? She was not a Cubist, but both she and her husband Ben were interested in Cubism and kind of dabbled in the style of Cubism. It came during their time as students and artists, and of course they were interested and aware of it, but she didn't settle on Cubism, although there is a slight hint in much of her work that is a little bit Cubist. Now, she paints Kate and Jake several times, the portrait of her 2 eldest children, on the Isle of Wight, which is another one of my favorite places. This one was painted, I think, I'm not sure about this one. There's 2 I'm going to show you, possibly 1932. This one, which is kind of a funny day of wearing funny hats, right? Everybody needs a funny hat day, particularly on a gray day. And another funny hat day, also occurring in 1932. This is at the Bristol Museum and Art Gallery. That is a beautiful place to be. And when you're in Bristol, you're really close to Bath, right, with lots more art museums and fun places to stop. But you get a feel for what I mean. The painting still, this is really like a composite idea, because we still have a still life, don't we? Like, the table is still a complete still life. And we see a textile, we see the items the way that they're placed, and we also have the 2 children, Kate and Jake, and they are in their funny hats having a whimsical time. And so it has some portraiture in it, and it also has a landscape element, right? So it's got 3 different sort of genres happening here. And this says to me, especially knowing her other paintings, Kate and Jake reminds you of Matisse, absolutely. The faces, absolutely, right? Because it is the same time. Not so much the 30s, a little bit, a little bit earlier, Matisse starts painting in this style, but they are painting at the same time. And he does do faces in this style. And also the artist Marie Laurencin, who I hardly ever talk about, but she's one of my favorites. She's tightly under copyright, which is a bummer, because I'd like to talk about her more. But we will talk about her more, because she's in the second Design Like book, and we have got to figure out a way to make that thing happen with all the copyright problems, But anyway, painting faces in this style with these sort of dark eyes, the way that these children are stylized is a very common painting style of that time. It's like we're touching on the edge of like the Fauvist style, right? Little bit of unnatural color, things left out in terms of detail, that give you an impression. Although this is not impressionism, right? We're heading toward expressionism here, because it is expressed in the way that it has been painted. But there's a lot of information left out, and that is what gives Winifred's paintings their style. right? The simplicity in what's left out. This is not realism. This is also not cubism. It's not quite expressionism, and it's definitely not fauvism, but it's a little bit of each one of those things. It's like she's sitting here on the Isle of Wight, and she's aware of all of these different styles, but she's painting in her own style, and she's just taking her favorite parts of all of these movements and putting them together into compositions that are truly unique and different. Here she is as a young woman. There's lots of photos of her on the web. This one is here in this book, and again, this book has so many paintings and photographs that I have never seen before, because there are lots of books about the Nicholsons together and their lives and their painting. I have several, right? I didn't take time to look at them now because I want to do this book, but everything I have of the Nicholsons is super inspiring. And this is the only book I have with a focus on rugs from them, from Winifred. But their work is inspiring, and some of it is sort of transferable to what we do. But just remember, 1930 for us right now in 2025 is the copyright cutoff year. 1930 and before stuff is copyright is in the public domain. Everything after is not. So if you're thinking about doing something exactly as you see it, and you're putting it again on your living room wall, nobody is going to give you a hard time, that's for sure. But if you look at the paintings, right, the artwork, the Nicholson artwork, and it's not out of copyright, it's not entered into the public domain yet, you cannot reproduce it commercially, right? That is a big, you will get a cease. You might get a cease and desist, but morally you're not supposed to, and that's not okay, right? And we know that. But it's worth saying that because of the timeline of Winifred and Ben, some of her work is in the public domain. So I'm kind of flipping through, and Shiny Cottages, her work is truly wonderful. I was lucky enough to have a private viewing of her work, including rugs. What? I taught a rug hooking class alongside the exhibition. Wow. Colors are breathtaking. Scylla, I've heard about you so much from other people at Tigger. Can you tell us more about the exhibit? If you can, and if you don't have the info handy here, maybe another time. But I'd love to know when and for how long. Travel, I'm going to be honest, I'm sorry if this sounds political, but travel right now outside, like leaving the U.S. and coming back, scares me. Even though I'm an American citizen, I was born in Europe, right? So everything about that scares me right now. But I would still be really curious about knowing the details, because I'd also like to share them with everybody with ears, right, on the channel here, on Tigger, everywhere. And Scylla, feel free always, if you want to send me something that you want to promote, it can always go into the Facebook group. And if you're not on Facebook, I can put it in the Facebook group or onto Tigger, or you're welcome to put copy that goes directly into Tigger. You can always write me, and I can tell you how to publish it, or I can do it for you. Oh, it was a couple of years ago. Damn. Exciting though. If you have any photos from it, let us know. But I'm very happy just knowing that you were there, because this would have been an amazing event. This is like a dream event, right? Well, I'm going to be dreaming about it. I love her work too. And this book has so many paintings. For example, I'm not going to show you all, but I mean, it's just, again, like the idea of the open window. And as Karen said, the open window is one of Matisse's most common motifs. The open, and for Winifred, the open window seems a bit more spiritual, right? Seems like it's a metaphor, whereas Matisse was literally just painting as much of what was outside the garden and inside the shelf as he could. So for him, it was more about layers of patterning. For Winifred, it seems like more of an abstract idea. But this is the kind of thing you're seeing for every page of the book, right? And cute little, I don't know if you noticed, but this cute little still life has like chickens too, right? The view, the flowers are on the windowsill, but still the view of the landscape with the chickens. So glimpses of the view, glimpses of the weather, glimpses of life, lots of pictures of she herself, right? Early in life and later years. So lots of personal history there that is really moving and compelling, and you'll want to gobble it up for sure. So the next major chapter is called The History of Rag Rug Making in Britain. And this is important as well because, of course, rag rug making in Britain is a different history than here in the US. Yes, we started the same way by cutting stuff up and working it into a backing fabric, an open weave, with a tool. And we did that too with proddy and with hooking. But the stories are different and the timelines are a little bit different. And the areas in Britain where rag rug making was more prominent and visible seem to be, there's pockets, right? Whereas in the U.S. It was like pretty widespread in New England up through Canada, right? Like the coast of Canada. That whole area was pretty jam packed with hookers, just pretty solid. And then as people started to move south and west, it went with them. But in the UK, there seemed to be sort of hot pockets. That just made me hungry just saying that. Hot pockets of sort of hotbeds of rug making. And they seem to be around industrial areas where there's the industry is something real specific, like there's a lot of mining, right? It seems to be like more of a community based thing where if there's someone making rugs in your community, it's likely that your family does too, right? And pockets, community pockets, not quite as widespread through the whole country as in the US in the 19th century. So a different history, and a history that's worth marking, with slightly different timelines. So we know that British rag rugs predate a hooked rug, but not using a hook, right? Using a proddy tool, using different tools, predate a hooked rug. But it's hard to put exact dates on stuff. The dates that I see usually go proddy, like 1860s, and signs of using a hook as a pulling up rather than pushing down go more toward the 1880s. So there's like a couple decades in there where it might be that they overlap or the timelines are closer, but at this moment it can't be proven through anything that anyone's found so far. That could be changing right now as someone opens a letter or a diary somewhere in their bedroom, somewhere else in this world, right? All of our information could change again, and isn't that exciting to think about? So this chapter gives us the history of rag rug making. And I'm not going to go into that in huge detail because I've done so many episodes on British rag rug making. It's so dense, it's so much, it's so charming and romantic. It's well worth looking back on those past episodes, and it's well worth getting this book to read this sort of synopsis of rag rug making in the UK. But I do want to show you this image that the author found. It is by Helen Bradley. We have talked about Helen Bradley because she is similar. She's a British folk artist, 20th century, not out of copyright, right? Still very tight copyright. But similar to, for example, Grandma Moses, more contemporary, or in Canada, Maud Lewis, a little bit more contemporary. So I want to show you this image, which I think is a fantastic catch by the author. Hold on, let me see. Oh, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong window. You know it, it's me, I'm in the wrong window. So this is a painting by Helen Bradley, and it's called The Morning After the Royal Visit to Manchester. Helen Bradley has several. I don't have a year for this. It's not written down here. Helen Bradley has at least 3 books that look like picture books, and they can be used as picture books, but they have this sort of, this is British, right? So this is British storytelling. You can see what I mean, that it is very folky. It is kind of in the Grandma Moses vein. Oh, good, silly. You did put the New Cumbrian exhibition information in Tigger. Thank you so much. If there's anything else I can do to make stuff visible, always let me know. I'm always happy to help forward any information. Thank you. That's fantastic. I love Helen Bradley's work because I love Grandma Moses's work. I love Maud Lewis's work. I love Tasha Tudor. I love all of the folk artists who capture domestic life. Because it's all in the details, isn't it? And especially for us as women, I don't mean to be sexist, but especially for us as women, we know that life is in the details, right? It is certainly still a man's world. And all of these little domestic things, I think particularly to us as crafters and specifically rug makers, appeal to us, right? All of the details of the little teapot on the table and the creamer and the plum jam, the cat sleeping, the samplers on the wall, looks like a picture of a young woman or possibly a young queen on the wall. The clock, the needlework, flowers, but the begging dogs, right? Completely out of proportion, right? The proportion is off. One of the great signatures of folk art. And here is the queen, or at least here is somebody wearing. It's maybe not the queen, but she's wearing a hat that signifies she's like a royal personage, right? Um, and on the floor are two spectacular rag rugs. And these look like Prati rugs because they're highly textured. And this artist, Helen Bradley, is perfectly capable of doing stuff in detail, as we can see in the rest of the piece. But there's actually three rag rugs on the floor because one is in the threshold, right, to the next room. But they are both standing on one, like bookends, on opposite sides of the table, really opposite sides of the world, right? The royal personage and the woman who looks very surprised, um, having tea and hosting in her apron, right? This is a nice house, but this is not a royal palace, and we are looking at proof of that because they are standing on rag rugs. So interesting storytelling here. The fact of them being so textured says to me Prati for sure. But what a great example in British art of catching rag rugs, right? Because I know Helen Bradley, and I don't know if I've seen this particular painting. I have three of the picture books, and I'm not sure if there are more. I haven't checked lately, but she's a great illustrator of daily life, and I think a great inspiration for you too, right? If you like this conversation. So this chapter is going to be really interesting because um, we're seeing some images of, and again, I don't want to show you everything because I want you to want this book, and I want you to get this book because you will not be sorry. It is a beautiful addition to your library, and it's something you're going to want to keep on your bedside table. Lots of photos of rag rug makers in the 20th century. Um, and I'm not showing you all of those either, but I have to show you this photo because it's exceptional for a few reasons. In this chapter about the history of British rag rugs, there is a section about artist makers, right? So fine artists, and we have done this on this show as well, talked about American fine artists who dabbled in rug making. We have had those episodes on Coffee Time. This is the same conversation in this book, research done by the author of this book, artist makers, and it goes through the chapter, mentions a bunch of artists who also made rugs, and this is the crux of it, right? This is what matters. I'm sorry, I had an extra photo in here. I got this from the internet, not from the book, on Ben and Winifred and their little dog, because I thought you might want to see them both together. I'm not talking about Ben in this episode because he's such a famous artist. I want to make the distinction, and I want to hold Winifred sort of aside as her own artist and her own person, and with the textile connections, although he will cross over into textiles. Emphasis on her for this episode anyway. This artist is Lucy Aldridge, and this is Lucy Aldridge making a rag rug in 1950. So this is a photo from the book. You can see my hand holding the book, and she is making a rag rug with a tool. She's obviously pulling up, right? Because she's not working on a frame. She's got it on her lap. It could be some kind of a hook. It's really hard to tell. I can't see it well enough. If you have an idea, let me know. But she seems to be kind of yanking up, and she's not got this on any kind of hoop or frame. Look at the size of this thing. Can you see? That's it on the floor as well. Like, it's not just on her lap, it's on the floor. So Lucy and John Aldridge, I'm reading the text here. A few artists have been closely connected to rag rugs, notably John Aldridge, 1905 to 1983, and his wife Lucy Aldridge, who you see here, 1889 to 1974, who took up rug making during the Second World War and subsequently produced a large number of them. Now, I want to remind you that rug making was very, very popular. Hooking, right, in other forms of rug making, latch hooking, after World War I and World War II, right? It's very, very common in the UK for soldiers to sort of regroup, rehabilitate, and get better sitting in bed working on rugs. So that is a huge part of UK history that doesn't really cross over to US history. I'm sure there were some examples, but in the UK it was very, very common for men who are convalescing to be working on making rugs. Since the couple lived at Place House, oh, that's not a very creative name, Place House, Great Bradfield, it is very likely that she first encountered them, and meaning Winifred, in rural northwest Essex. Aldridge succinctly explains the origins of her ideas. So this is Lucy talking. I'm going to keep the picture of her up. Lucy says, I have often been asked how I think of the designs for my rugs, and it is difficult to give an exact account of where any ideas come from. Sometimes an idea for a rug comes almost unconsciously, perhaps when rummaging through the materials I have available. Something in their coloring will start off a train of thought, but when the design has been executed, I generally find that it relates in some way to something I have seen, which has made a deep impression on me. So she's working on the rug in that picture, and this is not the rug that she was working on, but I just want to show you an example of a finished rug by Lucy Aldridge. This is a hooked rug circa 1950, so same year, but it doesn't look anything like the geometric with diamonds she was hooking in the last picture. This is at the Fry Art Gallery in Saffron Walden. Aldridge's interest in geometric designs and Roman mosaics is readily visible in this example. And there is a lovely, let me just get the next one queued up, and then I'm going to come back to you. There is and I don't want to show you everything. There is a lovely painting that John Aldridge did of Lucy working on one of her rugs. But again, I want to save some surprises for you. But what a thing to see that finished rug, right? And incidentally, that was 145 by 171. Let's get a feel for that. Let me ask the phone here. How many inches is 171 centimeters? 60 over 67 inches. So the tall way. So that's a smaller rug than the one she was working on her lap, but still a gorgeous rug. So I want to show you. This. This is, oh my God, oh my God. So this is from the book that we're looking at here, and this is a photograph of Lucy on the right with a cat on her lap, and the rug that she made on the floor. And on the left is her design, is her painting for the rag rug that she made. It's a watercolor on paper. This is also at Fry Art Gallery in Saffron Walden. Scylla, are you near Saffron Walden? I mean, this is killing me right now looking at these images. It's killing me. I did put the new Cumbrian X. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is all killing me because obviously this Fry Art Gallery has a ton of work that relates to rag rugs. What a beautiful painting we're looking at on the left. And then you're seeing it finished on the right. And you're seeing one of the subjects. This is called Four Cats. You're seeing one of the subjects, I think, of the four cats sitting on her lap. I mean, talk about full circle. What an absolutely beautiful piece. You're also getting a feel for the scale. Amazing. Amazing. So this book, in this chapter where we're talking about different makers and designers, I won't go too much further in this episode. A lot of the photographs that are in this book, it's all very well noted, right? There are like footnotes to everything. All the citing is right on, is correct, and that's important because that when all of that is in place, you know that the scholarship on this book is perfect, right? There's no question, and that's good to know because we're looking at good information, right? And that matters a lot. So a lot of the photography we're seeing in this book, oh, you're not nearby. I'm in Nottinghamshire, middle of the UK, a few hours drive away. Nan Millett will be nearer. Yeah, I've been talking to Nan a lot too. I'll ask her if she can maybe, because she's been putting out some beautiful stuff. She just put an article out. I think there's been 2 articles, like the About Nan, and then I think there was a second thing that went out over the Easter weekend. I'll have to ask her if maybe she could go do some photography there too for us. But a lot of the sources here for photographs are coming from the British, like Home and Gardens and Home magazines. So our Home and Gardens is different, right? And I used to write for BBC's Home and Gardens when I lived over there, but these are from like the 40s and 50s. And this kind of photography, um, this is just a very well researched book, right? And we're seeing photographs that I've never seen before and have not been in any of the previous publications of British rag rug books. So in this book, we're talking about the Aldridges. We're also talking about Vanessa Bell and Duncan Grant, right? So we're getting into that whole Charleston house, the Bloomsbury group. We're getting into that conversation too. I don't know, and that is its own. That is its own conversation. I'm not even going to go there because that is one of my favorite subjects, and I don't want to go too deep into that because that is like a hornet's nest of 100 more conversations that we have to have. But I don't have this slide in here, but you're seeing photography like this where we're seeing rag rugs, and in this case, that is Charleston, which is a house in East Sussex. So that's a Duncan Grant rug. There are a lot of famous British painting names in here because, of course, that's what that chapter was about. We'll do, I think, one more slide here. But the next chapter talks about Winifred and her Cumbrian rag rugs. And it says, when Winifred Nicholson first encountered rag rugs, they sparked an interest that would last a lifetime. In 1923, Winifred and her husband, the painter Ben Nicholson, moved into Bankshead, a farmhouse sited on Hadrian's Wall that was to remain her base for the rest of her life. Winifred knew the area of northeast Cumberland well from her visits to Naworth or Naworth Castle, which belonged to her grandfather, George Howard, the 9th Earl of Carlisle, who taught her to paint. Winifred described Bankshead as a gray farmstead, a little house built out of the Roman wall stones, a bier in a barn on the line of the Roman wall overlooking the great valley of the Irthing River and over toward the blue-gray fells. Gosh, it sounds like such a British view. I'm moving forward and paraphrasing to say that Winifred encountered or discovered her neighbor Margaret Warwick, who was a farmer's wife, and she was making a rag rug. So here, you wonder how these things began. This is how it begins. It was not difficult to imagine Mrs. Warwick sitting behind a large wooden frame, pushing strips of fabric into the Hessian backing, surrounded by strips and bags of material of various colors, with the black range, a kind of primitive aga stove behind her, and a coal fire blazing. Indeed, this is almost the scene in Winifred's portrait of the Warwick family. I'm going to leave that for you to discover in this book. So Winifred's first contact with rug making was with a neighbor who was like a farm woman. And she was working on a rug, and it sounds like she was doing the Proddy or Proggy style, pushing rather than pulling up. And I want to show you one more slide because it is one of Margaret Warwick's. So Margaret Warwick is the neighbor. It is one of her own rugs. Now, wait a minute. This is this is also attributed to Margaret. Sheepdog, and sometime in the 1920s. And come on, you can really see the artistry here. This beautiful, elaborate hit or miss border. My God. And in the second, just the shape of the dog, right? It's like some kind of a herding dog, some kind of a collie. Absolutely gorgeous shape, very solid shape, really well done, right? I mean, there's a lot of primitive dogs in rug hooking, but they usually don't look like this. Absolutely beautiful piece sets attributed to Margaret Warwick. And ending on this slide for today's show, definitely Margaret Warwick's work, Two Cats by a Fire, 1923. This is at the Tooley House and Art Gallery Trust in Carlisle. And by the fire, it means the stove, doesn't it? It doesn't mean the fireplace. Like if we said fire, we would mean the fireplace. This is by the stove. So just the very idea, and let's talk about this piece before I close the show. The very idea, right? Because we have seen these cats or very similar cats in lots of early rugs, But the idea, now this is very different than the sheepdog. I think the sheepdog comes later because the level of artistry is a little bit different here. This is more folky, this is more primitive. There's still not very much detail, but something about the dog was a bit more evolved. Like, or unless she's just a dog person and less of a cat person, maybe she was like looking at Staffordshire cats or little statues of cats or whatever, and she just did the shape very simply. But the cats are kind of lacking something character-wise, personality-wise, that the dog has in spades. And I do love the bookend placement of them with the hit or miss background and the stove with the big pot, right? The disproportionately big pot. It's a cozy scene and big border with flowers in it. I just love, and we will come back to this for our Friday show. We'll come back to this conversation on Friday, and we'll be doing this for 2 hours on Friday, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will return to this book. I love the story of Winifred having this little house on Hadrian's Wall and discovering Margaret Warwick, her neighbor, making rugs, right? First encountering rug making, visiting the neighbor, Margaret, and becoming interested in it and becoming interested in using fabric as paint, right? As was said in the book, fabric as paint. And I mean, it's an eternal story of how these things began, because we just told the same story in, I think, the Friday episode when we talked about Claire Murray leaving Manhattan and the rat race and her job in graphic arts, right, in this big company, and saying, I'm all done, and moving out to Nantucket, known as the faraway island. And there she is in this little cottage without her job and all of that power behind her and income. And she visits the neighbor who's making a hooked rug. And then she learns and she takes it to where it is today. I credit Claire Murray with a lot. I credit her, along with Pearl McGowan, of course, but Claire Murray is much later in the 20th century. We're talking about the 1980s now. And of course, Pearl McGowan was working, like, her heyday was 1920s to 1950s. She goes a little bit further than that, but like the heyday of design, right? So, I mean, these women who have kind of, and this is exactly how life is, kind of stumbled into your destiny. We focus so much on making things square peg, circle hole, making things happen. And it's such a nice reminder in this day and age. And again, I'm not going to be political, but I keep thinking about my kids and what will the industries be there for them? Does it make sense? I still have graduate student loans that I'm paying off. My sister still has her loans from Cambridge. She went to Cambridge in the UK. Yeah, I mean, what will be there, in future generations for work? It's funny and somehow comforting to think about how many people have stumbled into their destiny. I mean, I did here with ribbon candy hooking. Sometimes that's how it happens. You can't count on it. You can hope for it. You can pray for it, but you can't count on it. And it's so nice to hear stories like this about Winifred visiting Margaret, and this new world opens up. And we can all identify with that because we found rug hooking too. And when you find it, it's not easy to find, right? It's not quilting. But when you do find it, it's like almost like such a relief. You're so glad that you stumbled into it because there's so much here for us. And here we are talking about it week after week and year after year. There's so much for us here. We will return to this beautiful book on Winifred Nicholson. There is a link to this book on Amazon in the description of this video that you're watching right now. So it's there for you. I can't remember how much the book was, but all I can say is it's going to be on your bedside table for years. You're going to keep opening it and looking at it, and this is going to be an incredible source of inspiration and joy for you, and comfort, depending on what's going on. Just hearing about her story and the people who surrounded her. We will continue to hear that story on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when we are back together for cocktail time. Remember, this Friday is Winifred Nicholson. Next Friday is gallery night. So be sending your stuff into ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. Your thoughts, your comments, your projects, your designs, your problems, whatever you're working on, send them in so we can talk about them together and look at your stuff, not this Friday, next Friday, but I will see you this coming Friday. Let me just catch up. Okay. Yep. I'm glad. It's great when there's a new text out there that we can talk about and look at, right? It's a gift. It's a gift that this book came out. and we can share it here. Oh, you are so welcome. Hey, everybody, I will see you on Friday. If you liked this, you're going to love Friday. I will see you then. Have a great week in the meantime, and you can reach me at Ribbon Candy Hooking